So no, it is not clickbait. Somehow we had a lock that came up at work. There was a cage torn down that they had a lock on, been unlocked for years, to the point that the lock had been kind of like locked, but left open. So they couldn't close it back up, and nobody knew the combination. Well, that whole entire caged off area has been removed, and the lock was not needed anymore. So it came across the crew that I work with, and now each one of us have our own lockers. And yeah, I already have a lock. It's one of those little dial locks, and I hate it, to be honest. I saw the lock, and it's been there for a couple weeks. I asked, hey, is anybody going to be using this at any point? Because we use that very same lock on all of our tools. So all our cabinets for all our bigger tools, stuff like that, all have the same lock, and this is the same style lock. So I was wondering if anybody wasn't using it, I was going to put it on my locker just to make it easier, because the crew I work with, I have a few extra things in my locker that they don't have, like welding helmet, batteries, stuff like that. For my welding helmet, a few things, knickknacks in my what I call my project bag, stuff that they could probably use when I'm not there or if I have to go somewhere else in the plant. Well, that being said, I actually decided to sit down and try to figure it out. So I looked up LockPicking Lawyer. Really, I Googled it and found one of his videos with a lock that, if not the same, that was super close to this similar one. So yeah, I watched the whole video and tried to figure out exactly what he was saying. Now, I couldn't do it the same way he did because, like I said, the lock was locked open, so you could not put it back in. And it will not relock unless the combination is right. I had to finagle a new way to do that and to try to duplicate it as if it was still locked in place at the bottom. There's still stuff that has to be, held in place. When I found out, there was two little balls or cylinders that, when locked in place, are pressing, and then it holds the basically the tooth down. So when you pull on it, it would press them together, and it would do that. So to replicate that, being it was open, I shoved one of my tools down there and pressed it over and pressed this over and separated them to put pressure on those two balls, to which I just went down the same way he did. He explains it, and I'll actually show you a clip of what I'm talking about.
Adding a whole bunch of false gates. In fact, there is one on every single number here. But they made a large mistake in using false gates that are much narrower than the true gates. This allows us to very quickly differentiate between the false and true gates simply by feel. So let me demonstrate how we would decode this lock. First, I already know the combination, so we need to change this. Right now it's all ones, so let me move it to the change position. I'm pushing this downward so I can't see, and then I'm just going to scramble these wheels. Once they've been scrambled enough, I'm going to move it back to 1, lift it up, lock it up, and re-scramble it. So right now I have a lock with a combination that I don't know. The only thing you really have to do is pull down on here and feel how much each of these wheels turn. So let's get each of these in a gate. I'm pulling down. There's only a little bit of motion on each of these wheels. Once I determine that, I advance each one by 1 position. And once I find a true gate, I'll show you the difference between the two. I have not found a true gate yet. They're really pretty obvious. Okay, I found one on number 4. Watch, let me get closer to the camera and then watch how much that moves. That's quite a bit. Now compare it to the number 3 wheel that only moves just a little bit.
Now, being I'm not the lockpicking lawyer or a master, and I don't have that exact feel or understanding, not to mention it wasn't in the lock position, so it wasn't holding on to those two little bearings and moving them in to basically pull that thing down to put it in place so I could actually do what he's talking about. So I had to finagle it with some tools. It took a little while. Actually, after a little while, finally got it to work out the way I needed to. And I thought it was really cool because these locks are really tough. And a lot of people at work are not going to know how to get into it. Not to mention there's a badge in to get in the shop. So if anybody gets able to get in without all the cameras, then go to my locker and be able to bust that open, they'll know what it is. It's really just to keep some coworkers honest. But we have separate crews. We have 3 different crews that are in there at any point in time. So that's the whole point of why I got this one. So my crew needs help and it's something that I have that I'm not there for. it'd be a lot easier for them to be able to use the combination, get in, get the things they need, and get out. So it'd make it a lot easier for all of us. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting that for once I had to use, a YouTube for not working on a car or replacing a radiator or even just working on my air unit. It was actually something stupid like using him to figure out how to get a lock. And it wasn't for nefarious reasons, because a lot of people do use them for, stealing padlocks off of stuff or to break into things. But I legitimately had to use it. I thought it was really interesting that for once, something that I thought was cool but never needed in my everyday life actually came in handy and gave me a lock provided for my locker. The only thing I had to get our drill out because the hole was so much bigger, because that does have a fat fucking lock on it. And the one I have is just those little, old high school lockers lock. So I had to replace that out. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if you guys cared, but I thought it was cool. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Y'all have a good one.